People deluded, I'm back again. Now, what was I going to say before I get out and go? Raul Sanya a couple weeks ago or whatever, he made some comments, or he's been making them comments about in the last 2 years of a man's deal, player's deal, you need to know what you want to do with them. He kind of reiterated them in the last little fan thing he was doing. I think Josh Kroenke was there too. And he said the following players allegedly, or that's what I saw on Football London basically. He said Aubameyang. Now I said Aubameyang's first because he's 29, 30. He said his contract is up in 2021, but I have seen something saying his contract is up in 2022. So his is a bit mixed. But on the topic of Aubameyang, we'll get on to that. But there's Sokratis. Now there's an option of extending his deal. He's 30, 31, contracted until 2022. You've got Mesut Ozil. We'll get on to that if there is anything more to add. You've got Mkhitaryan and you've also got Mustafi. Now, big decisions are going to need to be made in the summer, not just on these players, but players that have more deals on their contracts. Because I feel in Emery, for example, at centre-half, he's got a big decision to make. I feel, firstly, we need to bring in a top centre-half or someone with the scope to be that. You've obviously, Koscielny and Monreal, I think they should be allowed to see out their contracts until 2020 for experience and things like that. And especially because Monreal can be the fight it out with Kohler for the first choice / backup left back thing. Three at the back, Monreal is there, for example, but they're still beyond the books. Then you've obviously got Bielik to come back on loan. Whether you're going to sell him or let him move on or whatever decision needs to be made. Mavropanos, when there was a lot of injuries, he probably could have played, but ironically, he's had an injury hit season. He really needs to have words with Unai Emery. We need to decide in regards to his development if he's going to play substantially next year or needs to go out on loan somewhere, because first year he came in January, fair enough, he's still adapting, but he only played twice, 3 times this season, injuries and stuff. But then if you quantify that, 2 years he's been missing out on football, people. Chambers signed a new deal, but in regards to raising funds, there's the option of that. There's obviously Mustafi. So in regards to centre-half, for example, there's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of areas to sign. If we're honest, we actually probably need two fullbacks of either side, whether that's backup or being able to fight Bellerin for the spot or Kohler or Monreal for the spot. But because of the money we have and there's other areas, we might have to concede that and do things like Maitland-Niles become a fullback. So there's a lot of decisions collectively throughout the side. But if we start with Mesut Ozil, now if it was up to me, if we're going to sell Mesut, if Mesut Ozil needs to go to raise funds and there's a plan behind this, or bringing in an attacking midfielder or someone that Unai Emery's way of thinking, then cool, what can we say? No player is bigger than the club and things like that if he's got that in mind. For me, I'd keep Mesut Ozil purely because I like him as a footballer. I think he can, in the role he's got under Unai Emery can concede that. I would like to see him play a bit more, and he's earned his way back into Unai Emery's good books, but he uses him in them games there that we're going to dominate possession and we need the needle of the eye thing. We play some big games recently. You've seen him start, but we take him off when we need to shut games out. Similar to how he's used Ramsey this season and a couple others. I feel different games, different sort of measures. Obviously, if we need to raise funds and get people off wages and he doesn't concede that this is his player, then he needs to move him on. But I also have to say, Arsenal must have considered the financial implications, rightly or wrongly, and considered that there is every possibility that this guy will see out the remaining years of his contract when he signed it at this club. So we'd have to foot the bill. So again, I'm not a finance man, but you like to think a big deal like that, there's finances or reserves being put away or being allocated to deal with that offset of wages sort of thing. If we have to move a man on, we have to move him on. And to be honest, when he does fall off completely as a footballer, he does need to move on. But there's that sort of thing. Now, Mkhitaryan divides opinion. I want to keep Mkhitaryan, but similar to Ozil, he's getting on a bit. Decisions need to be made. I wouldn't sell Mkhitaryan in the summer by any stretch of the imagination. He's contracted until 2021. Needs to keep playing like this till next season. One thing that complicates his thing is his form is playing well, but his form is good, but it's probably his wages. Now, his agent is Raniola, did a good move for him, but he's on big wages. So will it make sense to extend his renew his contract or extend it? No. If he does fall off, it might be tricky trying to move him on. So this is probably his last Arsenal contract. Maybe an extension of another 1 year, but it's probably his last contract at Arsenal, to be fair with you, with Mkhitaryan. Mustafi, out of all of them, needs to be sold probably, to contracted until 2021. I actually still got some small hope that I'm going to wake up one day and Mustafi is the defender that I thought he was going to be, or I did think he was prior to coming to Arsenal, because I think he's played well in stages since he's been at this club, but we haven't seen the consistency. I still got small hope that I'm going to wake up and he's going to be this aggressive leader. I think he is a leader, to be fair. I'll give him credit. I think he's got a good mentality. He's just not been playing well at all. Probably needs to be sold. How you sell him, I'm not too sure. We know the Inter Milan links with there. Probably if I was a club trying to buy Mustafi or Ozil to a degree, I'd only go in with loans with an option to buy, because Ozil hasn't been Mesut Ozil of Madrid or his early days at Arsenal, and his wages and his age doesn't make it financially sensible unless Arsenal are going to subsidise a lot of it to make it permanent to take him. Mustafi is a bit different. He's at peak ages. I suppose a club could mould him and things, and maybe he plays better in a league like Italy, because these things happen. But you're not really convinced, so I'll take him on loan with an option to buy. Aubameyang, now again, I'm not sure of his contract. Some people said 2021, some people said 2022. He's 29 to 30 years of age, so he's at that stage where he's gonna fall off as a footballer. If it is contracted until 2021, I would give him a new deal. If it's contracted until 2022, then fair enough. And with Aubameyang, similar to Ozil, you knew when you signed this player that you're probably going to have him when he's falling off as a footballer and probably need to move him on or not renew his deal, sort of thing. You knew he's going to have him as he's declining, sort of thing. So I think with Aubameyang, it's a thing where you just got to keep him until he stops scoring goals, to be fair with you. And it's a tricky one for our young strikers. Like if you're Eddie Nketiah, John Jules or Balogun, Lacazette and Aubameyang, assuming they're contracted until 2022, that's 3 years left. And obviously, if both are sold or one moves on, you'd like to think Arsenal are going to bring in another striker before they give them a chance, or fans would turn up their noses, or will they even all be of the required standard, because they're all developing as footballers. So it's an interesting one. So if Aubameyang's one, I'm not really sure. If his contract until 2022, then fair enough, he's irrelevant to this. Sokratis is a tricky one though, because he's got an option of an extended deal. His dad's confirmed he's contracted until 2021. If he keeps playing like this, I think we should keep him. I feel even when he falls off, obviously I'm looking to ahead, but I think similar to Koscielny, he could be one of them you keep in the squad. I like Sokratis, man. When he signed, I wasn't against the signing, because we needed, like, at the end of the day, he couldn't have been any worse than what we had. I think he would have provided good depth, but if everybody's honest with themselves, nobody was saying we need to get Sokratis. There was more reputable names, and what can I say? He's come. It was underwhelming, not because of him, but in that aspect. But he's come. He's played consistent. For me, I just like his nastiness. Hasn't been perfect, but I like him, man. I really like him. Now, he said his contract, when it expires, he wants to explore either playing in Asia or playing in America. And you could forgive, you can understand it. I mean, he's done his thing at Dortmund. He's now played in the Premier League. He's played for AC Milan. He's played at some big clubs, big atmospheres and things like that. He's obviously represented his country. And to be honest with you, America's a good sort of lifestyle. He probably wants to see that sort of lifestyle, get a good financial package. Obviously, with Asia, I'm assuming he meets China or Qatar. Again, he's at the stage of his career where he needs to start thinking about what he's going to do post-playing. So obviously, he's earned a lot of money as a professional footballer, without a doubt, but that sort of money you can potentially earn in America, or maybe not America, it's not the best example, but in Asia, could set not only himself up for life, but his kids sort of thing. Do you see what I'm saying, people? The sort of thing you can do with that Chinese money can do a lot for you. And he's got an option of extending it by a year, but it all probably depends on how his body feels, how he feels in terms of a challenge, if he still feels he has the required levels to help Arsenal get back, because we're not going to get back this season. We might not even get back next season, because obviously I'd hope to challenge for the league and things like that, but it's not realistic. There's still a lot of people to be brought in, people to be moved on, still a lot of building Unai Emery needs to do with his side, and he hasn't been afforded the luxury of that because it's only been less than a year, sort of thing. So that's an option. Mkhitaryan, I like Mkhitaryan, man. I think he really sold me. I like Mick, but away from emotion and the form he's been in, it probably won't be wise to renew his deal because of the wages and things. Like him and Ozil, I can't sit here and not understand these. Again, whatever you think of the wages, when Mickey signed that deal, when Ozil signed that deal, and Aubameyang in 2022, but these sort of players, when you're signing them, whatever you think, Mkhitaryan was signed on top wages, so it must have conceded he's going to see out his deal here in his best part of his career here, so we've got to factor that in. Aubameyang and Ozil. Ozil, when he signed his deal, I've already spoken about that. But Aubameyang, top striker, one of the best in the world, sort of thing. I'm not saying he's the best, obviously. When you sign these marquee sort of signings, you know that it's not gonna you're not gonna financially get a good return. So you have to factor in the fact that they might see out their contracts or extend it by another year. Clearly, Arsenal, for example, in Sokratis' case, and it might be in the others, but in Sokratis' case, they're considering renewing his deal, or they would like the handbrake or to be able to do that, or the luxury to be able to do that, or he wouldn't have that. So it's a difficult decision, to be fair, that's going to face us. And to be honest, it's crazy because these, excluding Mustafi, but the four names in Ozil, Sokratis, Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan before Mustafi, no disrespect, there's probably a bag of players that need to be moved on before them, but we still need to attend to these. So tough decisions are going to have to be made. Obviously, Sokratis is not going anywhere. This summer, Aubameyang the same, Mkhitaryan the same. Ozil's a tricky one. He's earned his way back into Emery's good books, it looks, but I don't know what's going to happen there. Mustafi's the one certainty. I'm saying that he might stay. Like I said, small hope that Mustafi turns around and becomes a good defender overnight. He's had good stages, but he's not convincing. And again, not to scapegoat Mustafi or nothing, but if I'm honest with you, genuinely, if I'm the Arsenal manager, if Holding's fit, Holding's rough around edges, but Holding plays ahead of him. Chambers isn't perfect, but if Chambers was at the club, I'd play him ahead of him. Mavropanos is, as much as we like him, people, he's largely untested because we haven't seen him play 20 Premier League games, so he'll probably have good and poor moments. He would play ahead of him. Sokratis is a shoe-in. Koscielny on his last legs is a shoe-in. Monreal at centre-half plays ahead of him, and this is not me being personal, people, and I'm sure you all agree the same. I'm probably not going to play the youngsters ahead of him, like the proper young G's in the 23s ahead of Mustafi yet. That's a bit of an exaggeration, and at times I think Mustafi's been scapegoated because what was it, when we lost to Bate, all of our defence was poor, but I don't think Mustafi was the poorest in that defence. You lot know I'm a fair man, but generally, he hasn't convinced, and to be fair, if you look at it without emotion or whatever you think about it, Mustafi should be the best defender within that side. World Cup winner, a lot of experience at a lot of good clubs, and he's been playing in the German national team. 26, he's aggressive, he's vocal. Mustafi should be Arsenal's best defender on paper, really, realistically. He should be. I shouldn't be saying Koscielny's better than you because Koscielny's had a big injury and he's at the end of his career. We should be saying Mustafi's the best defender within this side. Mustafi, realistically, again, listen to what I'm saying, people. Mustafi should be the first name on that team sheet, people. You get me? When you're naming the side, you should be naming Torreira, Mustafi, Aubameyang, Lacazette. Depending on how you look at it, sometimes Mesut Ozil, Aaron Ramsey, definitely with the form he's been in. You see get what I'm saying with the first names on the team sheet, sort of thing. But the first names on the team sheet in regards to defence is Sokratis and Koscielny right now. Holding obviously has been injured, and I love Holding, but you get the point. I've got nothing more to say, people, so I'm going to keep it moving. But on that note, people, if you wish, comment, subscribe, and do the rest. Deluded, I'm out.